All right, good afternoon, sir.
Ah,
How you doing?
doing good, man.
Just finished
Doing
our
good.
seminar.
Yep. Thank you for having me out.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So I just want to take a moment to kind of do a quick interview with you. And so what got you started in jiu-jitsu?
Oh, well, I used to run nightclub security.
Okay.
At the time, I'm about 300 pounds. I'd been boxing for a while. A buddy of mine comes up to me, and we would always been talking. I heard about the UFC. This is probably about 2002. He started talking to me about it, and I was like, nobody needs jiu-jitsu. All you need is stand-up. I think we all kind of grew up in that era of it was all boxing, karate, kickboxing, and wrestling. But he came up to me and told me I needed to learn it. He always bragged about it. Buddy of his by the name of Marcus Hicks, one of my good friends now to this day, but he tells me about it. And I'm like, whatever, it doesn't work. You can punch or kick anybody over, you can wrestle them. So at the end of the night, one night, we're messing around. Now, my buddy is 185 pounds.
Okay.
I'm over 300. We start wrestling around. He puts me in a guillotine. Now, I didn't know what a guillotine was, but I knew I was getting choked.
Yeah.
So he puts me in it, and I'd watched a little bit of the early UFC, and I knew enough to tap.
Okay.
I tap out. I'm like, try to do that again. So we start playing around again. We're wrestling around. He does it again. This time I pick him up and put him on the table. I was like, if this is what's out there, I need to learn it because I'm in an environment where 90% of the time there's a chance that I'm going to have to get into a fight.
Right.
So that's how it all started.
And was that in Texas?
That was in Texas.
Okay. So what would you say has been your most influential instructor?
Of course,
Carlos.
It started off with Carlos.
Right.
I'd always heard about him. He was the man, the myth, the legend. I'd seen I'd watched the early Walker Texas Ranger, so I knew who he was.
Gotcha.
Now, I remember the first time I saw it, I didn't really know that was he. Of course, on there, Chuck Norris is like, these are the Machado brothers. I see him doing stuff, and that's when I first heard the name.
Right.
And after that, I trained. Originally started off with Moeller. After Moeller, I went over to Star with Yusuf and his brother Molson. And I'm working at nightclubs still during this time. And another guy ends up working up there. His name is Taryn Douglas. He ends up, me and him end up being best friends. We started exchanging boxing for jiu-jitsu. He tells me, man, you got to come out over here with Carlos with me, with Master Machado. I'm like, all right, cool. I go by there. Master Machado was so friendly to me.
He
so
is super nice.
For the longest time, I had an awkward game. My game wasn't like everybody else's. A lot of people at the time, up to that time, had told me, Brad, that won't work. It won't work. You need to change your game. That's not going to work. Well, it started working for me at this point. But they would still kind of tell me it wouldn't work. First thing Master Machado does, he looks me in the eye. He looks at my game, and he says, I like it. Let me show you how to make it better.
Cool.
And then from that point on, as they say, the rest is history.
Awesome. What would you say your favorite submission is?
Oh, by far the Darce.
Darce choke.
Followed very closely by the triangle. Okay.
And then what would you have as your favorite guard pass?
Favorite guard pass? Probably the stack and double under.
Okay.
Because of the length of my arms, certain other guard passes are a little bit more difficult, but me being a bigger, longer guy, scooping up underneath the hips, sucking up the hips, stacking, I'm reaching across. Master Machado's famous boss grip sauce, smash and pass, and that's probably my most favorite pass to work.
Okay. What about favorite sweep?
Favorite sweep?
Or reversal. Sweep or reversal?
Tornado sweep. Or
okay.
flower.
Okay.
Just because it always leads into other things. It leads into arm bars, it leads into triangles. If you miss it, it leads into knee bars. It's just always been the most dynamic move. And then, of course, with my length, I can sit there and spin and move underneath a lot more.
So I've been going to the Machado affiliate camps now, I think for about 4 years, maybe 5. And I know you're tasked with doing a lot of the testing. So what has been the longest role block of time you have had? Because I have seen it like over 2 hours and you're still rolling. So like how long has been the longest roll? Not necessarily like one person, but like, okay, you rolled from, like today, you just rolled for an hour with several different people. So what would you say is your longest block of time to roll straight?
Probably about 4 hours.
4 hours.
Probably about 4 hours, because, when you're out there and, you kind of get the endorphins going, you're getting it going, you're having fun. I think that's one of the biggest things and best things about doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is it's fun. Especially when you got other guys out there, you're talking crap, you're mixing it up. You don't sit there and take it, so personal. Striking, you're mixing it up, the guy hits you, it's like bam, like,
okay.
Yeah, I thought we were playing around, But with grappling, it's like, I think everybody that does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is still essentially a big kid. We still like mixing it up. Other people are like, well, what are you doing? Well, we're grappling, we're doing, martial arts. Well, it takes a certain type person because not everybody likes to get choked. Not everybody likes to get slammed. Not everybody likes to sit there and feel that adrenaline rush and try to overcome it. But it's just when you're out there, you're having fun, mixing up with guys that I've known for years, some of them for decades, and it's that constant chess match that's going on. It's like it's the equivalent of being on the basketball court and you're talking crap before you take your shot, if you play golf, it's like you're talking crap before you swing, it's just that fun. And unless you really, throw yourself into it, you really don't understand it. But the minute you get out there and it no longer becomes sink or swim, but you're just swimming, treading water in the pool, that's when it turns over and you can do it all day. Because what starts to happen is you start to become so much more efficient that the time goes by. You're not gasping for air. You're not straining on everything you do. So therefore, 5 minutes or 5 hours, it becomes all the same because you're constantly keeping a constant pace. You're constantly, working your way out of stuff. You're never losing your head.
Gotcha. Who would you say has probably been one of your biggest challenges to grapple? Like whether it's at the affiliate camps or maybe friends. I know you go to like open mats and stuff in Dallas and all that.
Oh, man, I've had a few. I've had, one of the benefits of being under Master Machado is you get some of the big names coming around to come after, come over to the school and either, they come over and doing seminars or they, end up coming by to learn from him.
You guys had Gordon Ryan like a couple years ago. Yeah.
Gordon Ryan was fun. Me and him rolled for, I guess it was easily about an hour and a half.
Wow.
Me and him just kept playing around, getting after it. He's a great guy. We, talked while we were doing it, talked afterward. He came the next day, we rolled again. He was real fun. One of the guys' names is escaping me right now. He's not too far away from here. He went up against Gordon Ryan. He's in Mississippi. I forgot the gentleman's name. Forgive me. If you hadn't put me on the spot, I probably could remember it. Anthony Parash came by. Had some good rolls with him. One of my best friends and brothers, Travis Luter.
Yeah.
Me and him always try to get together. I try to see him at least, 2 to 3 times a month. He's always been fun. Me and him will get after it, and we have fun. When we talk about cars and stuff.
Yeah.
There's been so many guys that have come by. Some of the big names, have come by, and they've all been fun. Just getting out there and rolling with them. There's a bunch of local guys that I've rolled with, like Raphael Lang, Igor, Iago. There's a bunch of different guys. Ignacio, if I can find somebody that's like-minded like me that just wants to get after it and play around, it's like a fraternity, different guys coming from, different instructors, but we all respect each other, it's a certain level of respect for somebody who's doing the same thing as you.
So you say respect, and so have you run into or have you seen where that's been the issue? Like people are like, hey, if you're not training, like I went to a seminar, Helson Gracie, and they were like, if you don't train Helsing Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, you don't train crap. Like, so you say how they're all like-minded, but yet I've seen a lot of the other side too.
You know, a lot of it, stems from the instructor. The head, Master Machado, being the head of the association, oldest of all the 5 brothers, he's always been 100% nice, welcoming, laid back, and it stems from there. That's pretty much any school. You want to see what the school's going to be like? Look at the instructor. If you go in and the instructor tries to beat you up right off the bat, that tells you what kind of place you're going to be at. If you go in there and the instructor's laughing, they're having fun, they're welcoming, then that tells you everything you need to know, about what kind of association you're going to be in. As the old saying goes, though, respecting isn't given, it's earned.
Right.
So sometimes, unfortunately, there's a lot of, people who will become frauds in martial arts. They haven't earned their ranks. So therefore, it waters down the art. So you'll get a lot of people who will sit there and say, well, if you're not part of our system. But here's the thing. You can learn something from everybody.
Correct.
Everybody you can learn something from. It's like, a lot of people say different things about different disciplines in martial arts. Any legitimate martial art has something you can take from it and make it your own, because all legitimate martial arts are based on physics,
combat,
leverage, angles, and timing. If you can pick it up. Now, you may not be able to take everything from that specific instructor, maybe because their body type's not yours, or maybe their mindset isn't yours, but you can always take something. You can always learn something. You never stop learning. You're always looking to grow. Like I said, I talk about Master Machado and his brothers. They've always said, always sit there and be looking to steal or learn something from somebody else. You can never be above learning. One of the things I had the benefit of is I've been to back in the day when all 5 brothers would just, they would do the Machado camp.
Yeah, I missed that.
Each of them had their own style that I was able to learn from. And I had the benefit of learning from each of them. Being an old school guy, that was, something at the time I really didn't see the gravity of it. But now, I look back and I'm like, man, I had, golden opportunities to learn from some of the best. In the game, I've had the opportunity to learn from Marcelo Garcia. I've learned from, like I said, Gordon Ryan come by showing his leg attack game. Of course, Master Machado's always showing stuff. His brother Rigan, Roger, Jacques, John. I've had the opportunity to learn from each of them. Each of them signed off on, on my black belt.
That's cool.
My original black belt. All 5 brothers signed off on it because it was at the camping. And I've always taken that to heart. That's the reason why I'm always training. For me, I'm old school. I believe if somebody signs off on you, then you have an obligation to always represent them in a fine way.
I agree.
So, all of them signed off on me. And then, of course, in turn now, Master Machado's signed off on me as, head of the instructors in the association. So I get to test a lot of the guys. So therefore, I always look back at how he came up, how him and his brothers came up, and how they would train. To this day, I still watch some of the old videos that they had.
Yeah, I've done that too.
And so it's always kind of stuck with me. So everything as far as to go back to your question, some people may not respect you, but as the old saying goes too, the mat never lies.
Yeah. If there was a new person get ready to join or start jiu-jitsu, what would be the piece of advice you would give them?
Come in humble. Come in humble. Come in ready to learn. Come in ready to learn from everybody. Because, somebody else who you may think that you may own them on certain things, they may have something. Even if they're a lower rank than you, they may have something that they do that you can take something from.
Gotcha.
Just come in humble. Train smart, stay humble.
That's the motto, yeah.
That's the motto. And it rings true. Staying smart means you don't get injured. Staying humble means you don't get injured. Staying smart means you're always willing to learn from somebody else. Staying humble means you never think too highly that you can't get beat or somebody can't teach you something.
Gotcha. What has been your biggest challenge in learning jiu-jitsu?
Turning it off.
Okay.
Turning it off. It's addictive. You know, it's like, some people say, weightlifting is addicting. I think it's the game of it all. I think that's the biggest challenge is learning, especially as we all get older, learning how to adapt with your
Okay.
body. I think the one battle that all of us face is time. And if you don't change your game with time, you're going to be obsolete. It's like business. If your business doesn't change with the times, you become obsolete and you'll be gone.
Blockbuster.
And that's normally time what happens with people. And the reason why most people stop training isn't because they didn't want to, but 90% of them get injured. Well, why do people get injured? Because they're stubborn.
Yeah.
Because as a new person, you come in, you're stubborn. So I think first of all, kids come in with the highest percent chance of reaching black belt, and then of course women, because they're usually a little bit more they're more humble than men are. The bigger the guy is, the stronger you are coming into jiu-jitsu, the harder that road's going to be, because you start to have to realize that success doesn't come from how much power you put in, but it's about the leverage, angles, and timing that you put into it. And as the old saying goes, styles make fights.
So you said in the beginning you used to weigh 300 pounds, and so was jiu-jitsu the avenue that you took to lose the weight, or was that just a piece of it?
It was a big bellwether it was a real motivating thing, because for me, I'm incredibly competitive. When I first started off, I was 350 pounds.
Okay.
But it was, when I very first started too, I got my arm broke. One of my best friends, to this day, and he's one of my instructors, he broke my arm because at the time, I'm over 300 pounds, he's 155 pounds.
I'm not
picking him
tapping.
up. I kept picking him up like this jiu-jitsu. I know enough now, because everybody gets to that point. I'm 6 months in, I'm 8 months in. I know everything. I'm strong enough to do what I want. And I picked him up one too many times, and he popped in, pow, broke my arm.
Wow.
Now, at the time, my job was, I was running nightclub security, and I was bodyguarding. I still had to go to work the next night, still had to go to work, regardless, arm in a sling, but I'm ultra competitive. If somebody beats me, they're going to have to beat me 1,000 times, because I'm going to figure out a way to beat them. Whether it be you beat them based on, technique, maybe because everybody has a weakness. Somebody that's incredibly technical. Well, usually you can find a weakness in their game if you can speed it up and force them to skip steps.
Got it.
If they're incredibly technical, if you can frustrate them so they can't think. If they're incredibly fast, you slow them down. If they're incredibly strong, you speed it up so they can't put their strength and they use up all their oxygen. If they're younger, you use your wisdom. If they're heavier, you move out of the way. So, going back to the original question, it's the turning it off. It's the turning it off, learning how to take time away, but at the same time, you never want to, if you train smart and stay humble, you never have to take time off.
Gotcha. And then the last question, so why do you wear socks all the time?
Oh boy, okay. Two-part on that one. Two-part, guys. Okay, so originally, my best friend, brother Travis isn't gonna like this, but I went to his school, Travis Luter's school, back, I wanna say, it was like 2004. I went over to his school and I was training, and he had the old school wrestling mats.
Okay.
And they were the green ones. And those are meant for wrestling shoes. Well, at the time I thought I could shoot. And I was shooting around the mat, all right.
Burn the top.
I tore the top of my feet up, and I was taking showers and cursing every time. I don't even curse, but I was cursing because that soap would hit the top of my foot and it was burning like fire. So I was like, well, I didn't want to stop training. Once again, like I said, for me, I love to do it. So therefore, I didn't want to stop training. So I slid the socks on to protect my toes because, of course, Band-Aid would come off.
Right.
So slid the Band-Aid over, then put the socks over the Band-Aid, and I would train. That's how I originally started. After that, though, it healed up. I was competing, and I was still working at the nightclubs. Now, anybody that's been in any kind of bar or nightclub, you know what happens. Those floors get slick. So I was wearing dress shoes, and the floor would be slippery, and I'm sitting there trying to wrestle guys and fight with guys on the dance floors and this and that, and slipping and sliding. So I was like, how can I simulate
Okay.
not having traction in order to continue to get better? So I kept wearing the socks. Floor slick, guess what? I need to work on my balance. So then, of course, that started to help out. Well then, I still was boxing and doing kickboxing. Well, the more time you spend on the mat, the more you start to beat up your body. So what starts to happen? You start to rub off the calluses underneath your feet. So of course that started protecting my feet, and I've been wearing them ever since. Now, of course, it protects my feet. I don't have feet injuries and stuff like that. So stay tuned, guys. Brad's got socks coming soon to a store near you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir.
No, thank you again, JD.
Yes, sir.
Always a pleasure.
Awesome.